Yep. Good morning. My name is Kathy Finch, and I am the lay leader today. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. Whether you have been with this church a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, whatever your journey has been, we welcome you. We now take a moment to acknowledge that the land we stand on was taken from the local indigenous people. Inspired by their culture, may we strive to become better stewards of the earth. Newcomers and guests are always welcome to participate in any of our church activities. Currently, our services are being led by members of this congregation or outside guest speakers. This means that you can expect every week will be a bit different than the week before. If you're visiting our church for the first time, we invite you to visit us several times to experience the variety of services being offered. If you'd like more information about our church or Unitarian Universalism, please talk to our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Dana Poss, or one of our board members. You can find contact information for Dana and the board on our website. An announcement. As we emerge from more than 2 years of isolation, it's time to re-engage. Many of our committees and teams are in need of new members, and participating is a great way to build relationships while supporting our community. Immediately following the service today, the Leadership Development Team is hosting a committee fair. Learn more about our committees and teams, how they support UUCNH, and how you can get involved. And now a message to all the holiday shoppers out there. Next week, November 20th, the Craft Group will hold their first of 2 annual holiday sales at the church after 3 years of online sales. The sale will be held, woohoo, yes, cause for celebration. The sale will be held in Friendship Hall and the East Room. Be sure to bring your checkbook or cash to purchase some great handcrafted items, baked goods, ready-to-go gifts for anyone on your holiday list, or even a little something for yourself. Then feel good knowing that your purchase will fund projects that help to improve our church. See you then. Please join us for a coffee hour and the committee fair today. And don't forget, if you haven't hosted coffee hour yet, the sign-up sheet is out there in Friendship Hall. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. It is good to be together, both in person and virtually.
Our opening words are from American playwright August Wilson. I dropped out of school, but I didn't drop out of life. I would leave the house each morning and go to the main branch of the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh and Oakland, where they had all the books in the world. I felt suddenly liberated from the constraints of a prearranged curriculum that labored through one book in 8 months.
Our chalice lighting words come from Dag Hammarskjöld. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back. Our opening hymn is number 320, "The Pen is Greater," in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen.
Our time for all ages this morning is the Inside Outside Book of Libraries, written by Julie Cummins and illustrated by Roxy Monroe. And here we are outside. Whoops, that was a little fast. Here we are. Here we are outside the main library of New York Public Library. That's on 5th Avenue and 54th Street. There are 2 lions out front. Many of you have seen them. And they are patience and fortitude. And now we go inside the libraries. Okay, thank you. You ready? Okay, and here's a bookmobile. Many of us have seen bookmobiles traveling here and there, out in the country and into the city. And next we have, this is a branch of the New York Public Library. Do you see the flag outside? This is in Chinatown. There are many branches of the New York Public Library in individual communities characteristic of a particular culture. And there are books there in both Chinese and English. And next we have the inside of that library. And you see a children's room, and you see the librarian telling a story with finger puppets, and you see children reading and paying attention if they care to. And next we have a little tiny library. This is the Ocracoke Library It's on an island. It is North Carolina, and it actually has its own little library, 750 residents. And inside, next page, there we are. Isn't that charming? That's the inside of that little library. People know you there, probably know you by name. It's also very attractive to tourists who come to North Carolina. And next, we have a big library. That is the United States Capitol on the left, as you see. And then there is the Library of Congress. It's the largest library in the world. The British burned our Library of Congress, which was housed in the Capitol, backward in what they called the War of 1814. They burned all the books, and then Thomas Jefferson offered to sell his library to Congress, and they took him up on it. And it has grown quite a bit since being housed in the Capitol. It gains 21 new items a minute, about 10,000 a day. So it is the largest in the world. Here's the inside of that. Whoops. Do we have the inside? No, I guess not. This is the library for the blind. We aren't going to see the inside of Library of Congress. This is a library for the blind. There are a number of communities that have them. And as you see the dog, you see the people working on computers with headphones. And then if we go to the next page, you'll see a youngster reading Braille with his fingers, and he's reading a story. And the tactile touch will tell him what it says. And then we have another library, the Explorers Library. This is a library in a 6-story townhouse in New York, and it was founded in 1905. It encourages scientific exploration. Some people who have used the library, some famous explorers, are Edmund Hillary, Admiral Robert Peary, and Sally Ride, the astronaut. And 25,000 books. You need to make an appointment to go see something there. And inside the library, there we go. I hear that there is a stuffed polar bear. I've never been to this library, and we don't have a picture of the polar bear, but this is the map room. And some of the maps were made by the explorers themselves. Okay? And then our next is on a ship. This is the Abraham Lincoln. It's the U.S. Navy ship. And on board this ship, you see, for reference, you see the people on the deck, and that gives you an idea of the size and the scale of things. All right, so every day there are 18,000 meals are served, 185,000 gallons of fresh water made, and we have a full-fledged library on the next page. There we are. And they're reading the Navy Times, which is a newspaper for the Navy, and you see some service people there reading material and taking a break. And then we have next page, a prison library, number of prison libraries across the United States. Unfortunately, we have prisons, but of the folks in the prisons, 3/4 of them are high school dropouts. So it seems an important thing to have a library. This particular library is Folsom Prison and in California, and there are 3,800 men and women who use that library. Okay, and then next, this is a tool lending library. You see the wheelbarrow, the ladders, the cement mixer. These items can be taken out with your library card. They have over 2,000 home repair and gardening tools. This is in Berkeley, California. They are lent free of charge to residents 18 and older. The overdue fines are a little stiff, from 50 cents a day to maybe $15 a day to maybe even a little more. But I love the idea of lending tools. Now inside, and here we are with some more detail of what's available. Okay, and then next, we have something that all of us use which is the internet and the World Wide Web, which is actually really a modern library. And next, we have folks using that. We have a student in Hawaii at a community college there, accessing information thousands of miles away, many, many distances. And then we have a youngster in the Denver library, and he is doing the same thing. He is accessing sometimes the same materials, sometimes different materials. So that's the internet. And then we have an elementary school library. Many, many of these, probably some of you have attended or helped at an elementary school library. They're very busy places. Children love them. I love them. And then next, we have, this is also inside the library for children. And you have some things that are simple and easy to access. I could use that, you know, the easy access there. And then next we have libraries in our homes. Some of us have lovely large homes. Some of us live in trailers, maybe none of you, but libraries are in our homes. We make them, we enjoy them, we read our books, and we have our own collection. And then, next page, here's inside our homes and our libraries, and being read to when you go to bed, at the end of a day, snuggling up before the fire, reading your book. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I think to myself, it's been a hard day and I am going home to my book. I'm going home either to a cup of tea or to a glass of wine, and I'm snuggling in with my book. And so our last page, I think a lot of people feel that way. Okay, thank you so much. We send our children off to their classes, and I think we sing them out.
Good morning. I'm Susan Powers from the Lay Pastoral Care Team. During our service, we create the sacred space for sharing within our community. It's a time to share significant life passages with the congregation so that you can be held in loving care. I'll be reading the joys and sorrows this morning, and Chris Hill will be placing a stone representing each joy or sorrow in the sand. The sand represents our congregation supporting our sorrows and lifting up our joys. I have one joy this morning from Michael Horowitz. A big hallelujah for the election results. Today we say, sharing your joy. From Lynn Hirschenrother, A Sorrow. Last Saturday, my brother passed away at home. He was 79. He was my older brother, a kind, easygoing guy who could always make me laugh. I'm so thankful I made the trip to D.C. area to visit him a few weeks ago. To Lynn, we say, we're holding you in our hearts. From Kurt and Ellen Kuntz, A Sorrow. Ellen's father, Ed George, signed himself over to hospice care this week. His health is declining and he needs additional assistance, bathing and preparing meals. He lives with Ellen's sister, but the family is considering facility options. To Kurt and Ellen, we say, we're holding you in our hearts. Also from Kurt and Ellen, another sorrow. This past Monday, we sent our beloved Golden Doodle Abby over the Rainbow Bridge. We are sad over our loss, but grateful that she never suffered and was happy and active until this past Saturday afternoon. As we reflect on the wonderful 15 years we had with her, we are thankful for all she brought to our lives. She gave us so much joy, love, laughter, and was just so darn cute, and she was. To Kurt and Ellen, we say, we're holding you in our hearts. We now place one more stone in the sand for all the joys and sorrows that exist in our hearts but remain unspoken. We especially think of our church community as we move through this transition period to our future. Please know that the lay pastoral care team is here for you, to listen and to support you. You can always reach us collectively via the Breeze form, our lptc@uuch.org email, or individually as you choose. From far and near, please say our caring words with us. Let us hold in our circle of caring each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those who are unable to be here today. Let us hold in our memories those who have moved on. Let us find comfort in knowing that we are not alone.
This morning for our meditation. This morning for our meditation, let us practice extending metta, which is an expression of goodwill. Make yourself comfortable. Put yourself at ease. Close your eyes if you wish. Become present in this moment by saying, "May I be safe. May I feel peace and happiness in my life. May I be free from animosity. I take care of myself with ease." Now notice what is present with you. What sensations, what emotions. Now bring a beneficial person into the present, maybe a pet. Extend metta to this person or pet. Let this person fade. Bring a familiar but neutral stranger into the present. Perhaps someone who waits on you in the grocery store. Extend metta, goodwill to them. Feel into your own experience of this. Now let this person fade. Bring into the present a person who causes you difficulty. Calling them does not mean liking them, forgiving them, or condoning their behavior. Extend metta to them. Let them fade. Be a friendly presence for yourself. Extend metta to yourself. Feel peace, feel ease. Extend metta everywhere. Extend metta in all directions. Namaste. 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 Okay.
We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. If you're here with us today in person, you can put your offering in the baskets being passed by the ushers. If you're joining us virtually, you can make your offering by mailing a check to the church or going to the uucnh.org website, finding the link in the upper right-hand corner that says Donate, and making a contribution equivalent to what you would be putting in the plate or more. This month's Share the Plate recipient is National Network of Abortion Funds, which builds power with its members to remove financial and logistical barriers to abortion access by centering people who have abortions and organizing at the intersections of racial, economic, and reproductive justice. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in saying the dedication of the offering. The words will be on the screen. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith.
Good morning. I'm Lou Bartolomucci, and I've been a member for a lot of years. My topic this morning is the importance of public libraries. The first time I walked into Hillman Library as a Pitt student, I cried. Standing there, feeling small in that large space, I knew the world was mine. Ancient Greek plays, all of Shakespeare, all of Eugene O'Neill, of Samuel Beckett, and even of Maria Callas singing Medea. All of it was mine, to hear, to read, and to see. Like August Wilson, I felt the power of a library to change and transform me. Perhaps as soon as humans began to write, we began to collect what was written. There are clay tablets and wooden blocks discovered in ancient places all over the world. In Turkey, Japan, and Korea, we have found evidence of ancient libraries. Some of these very old libraries still exist. We know that wealthy people, royalty, university, and religious institutions established private libraries. There has always been an element of exclusion to private libraries and an element of privilege to their access. Virginia Woolf, feminist, author, publisher, and scholar, describes this practice in her book, A Room of One's Own. Woolf had been invited to speak on the topic Women and Fiction at a university she calls Oxbridge. She was early and sat on a bench thinking about where she was. She began to realize that a work of scholarship, a paper on John Milton and how he had altered a passage from Paradise Lost, was close by. So Virginia Woolf, guest for a day, hurried over to an Oxbridge library to see for herself. She opened the door to the library and was immediately accosted by a silver-haired gentleman in a long black gown who informed her that she could not enter unless accompanied by a fellow. She was turned away. She said later, "Lock up your libraries if you like, but there is no gate, no lock, no bolt that you can set on the freedom of my mind." We have a private library upstairs. Our library is light on fiction and also light on library fines. There aren't any. There aren't any. Our library is heavy on church administration and governance. If you join a new committee today, be sure to search our library for help. You are invited to browse our library. Unlike the Vatican Library, we don't lock up the books. Exclusion was also a practice in public libraries. Perhaps we all know the story of civil rights icon John Lewis, who grew up in Troy, Alabama. When he was 10 years old, he went to the local public library to get a library card. He was denied because, quote, he was a Negro, unquote. He and siblings and cousins and friends tried again several years later. They were all denied because of their race. When Representative John Lewis published Walking with the Wind, an autobiography, he won a National Book Award. He went back to that same library on July 5th, 1998, for a book signing. Hundreds of black and white people filled that library. And guess what? The library gave John Lewis a library card. I find it thrilling to think of Representative Lewis, then with easy access to the Library of Congress, the largest library in the world, choosing to stand in that small Alabama library. He had, in the words of the African-American spiritual, overcome. Another person we associate with public libraries is Andrew Carnegie. He was born in 1835 in Scotland, the first child of William and Margaret Carnegie. William was a skilled weaver, but mechanical looms made the family's financial life in Scotland extremely difficult. William borrowed money, and when Andrew was 13, they settled in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. You know Allegheny, it's now the North Side. Andrew went to work as a bobbin boy in a textile mill. He rose steadily, manning boilers and then becoming an office clerk. He learned bookkeeping and then became a telegraph messenger. By listening closely to the rhythm of the telegraph's dots and dashes, he learned the skills of a telegraph operator. He was now earning $20 a month. Carnegie is said to be the third man in the United States to take telegraph messages by ear alone. He attracted the attention of Thomas A. Scott, a superintendent of the Pennsylvania Railroad, who hired him as a private telegraph operator in 1853. Carnegie was 18. He joined debating and self-improvement societies. He borrowed books from Colonel James Anderson, who opened his personal library to working boys. According to Carnegie, this borrowing, quote, opened the intellectual wealth of the world to me, end quote. As you know, Carnegie founded the Carnegie Steel Company, which became the largest steel manufacturing company in the world. After 1901, Carnegie Steel was the keystone of Mammoth United States Steel Company. His income in 1900, the year before he retired from business, was $24.7 million. That was his income, not his net worth. In today's dollars, in 2022 dollars, that amount of money, $24.7 million, is just shy of $1 billion. 874 million. I did that by bringing it forward at a 2.9% inflation rate, and I understand that there were times in the 20s when that rate did not increase, when it actually decreased. We had deflation. Carnegie funded a wave of libraries across the United States. In his book, Carnegie Libraries Across America, A Public Legacy, Theodore Jones notes the cost of all the Carnegie libraries in the U.S. was $41,478,689. The total number of libraries was 1,689. The total number of cash grants was 1,419. The largest grant, $5,202,621, went to New York City, which built 67 libraries with that money. A total of 1,015 grants were for fewer than $15,000. Most libraries were built in communities of fewer than 7,500 people, and more than half of his grants, 768, went to Midwestern communities. The smallest Carnegie Library was built in Bayless, California, where a $4,000 library was built in 1917 at a rural crossroads to serve an agricultural population. Carnegie libraries were built and used in accordance with each community's sense of its civic needs and well-being. There was no requirement to use his name. Carnegie's donations were motivated by a sense of, quote, responsibility. The only states with no Carnegie libraries were Alaska, Rhode Island, and Delaware. Pennsylvania received 59 libraries and 27 grants. A handful of southern libraries explicitly requested and received Carnegie funds for segregated libraries. Some libraries had sex-segregated reading rooms intended to keep women in their proper place. In 1909, a unique situation occurred. Booker T. Washington and an associate from the National Negro Business League, Charles Banks, requested public library funds for Mound Bayou, Mississippi, a community composed entirely of African Americans. The town sat beside a railroad right-of-way. Carnegie immediately approved a $4,000 library grant for the community of 1,500 people. This is Andrew Carnegie quoted in his dedication speech for the Carnegie Library of Washington, D.C. in 1903. Quote, "Free libraries maintained by the people are cradles of democracy. Their spread can never fail to extend and strengthen the democratic idea, the equality of the citizen, and the royalty of man." There are those who donate, build, and give to libraries, and those who take away. A rather famous theft occurred at our own Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's Oliver Room. The Oliver Room was the home of rare and very valuable books and maps, some donated by Carnegie himself. The September 20 issue of Smithsonian Magazine, I have a copy of it right in front should you want to have a look. The September issue 2020 of Smithsonian Magazine, there's an article by Travis McDade titled "The History Thief." It tells the story of how one person plundered the library. McDade says the person who worked over the Oliver Room, this is a quote, "The person who worked over the Oliver Room stole nearly everything of significant value, sparing no country, no century, or subject," end quote. He took the oldest book in the collection, sermons printed in 1473. He took the most valuable book, a first edition of Isaac Newton's Principia Mathematica, obviously in Latin, a first edition of Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, a letter written by William Jennings Bryan, a rare copy of Elizabeth Cady Stanton's 1898 memoir, 80 Years and More, Reminiscences, 1815 to 1887. There is more, much more, including photogravure prints of Native Americans created in the first decades of the 20th century. The images were beautiful, historically valuable, and extremely rare. Taken also were John James Audubon's 1851 to 1854 quadrupeds of North America. He stole 108 of the 155 hand-colored lithographs. The thief took nearly everything he could get his hands on and did it with impunity for nearly 25 years, said McDade. It was an inside job. Greg Priori, librarian, pleaded guilty to theft and receiving stolen property. He was sentenced to 3 years of house arrest and 12 years of probation. John Schulman, who founded Caliban Bookshop in 1991 and was well known from appearances on Antiques Roadshow and PBS, pleaded guilty to receiving stolen property and was sentenced to 4 years house arrest and 12 years of probation. In my opinion, the value of public libraries is measured not only by the scope of its programs and book collection, but by the people who use and benefit from them. Here are a few well-known people who have credited their public libraries. From Morovia, California, Upton Sinclair. From Salinas, California, John Steinbeck. From Columbus, Georgia, Carson McCullers. From Anderson, Indiana, Amelia Earhart. From Mitchell, Indiana, Gus Grissom. From Petrosky, Michigan, Ernest Hemingway. From San Diego, California, Charles Lindbergh. From Nevada, Missouri, John Huston. From Camden, Ohio, Sherwood Anderson. And my second favorite, from Niles, Michigan, Sally Moody, an African-American domestic servant servant who left her entire estate of $6,748 to her library in 1927. My very favorite is August Wilson from 1727 Bedford Avenue, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who had this to say, quote, "I had a wonderful childhood. As a family, we did things together. We sat down and had dinner together at a certain time. We didn't have TV, so we listened to the radio." He also said this about his mom, quote, "I happen to think that the content of my mother's life, her myths, her superstitions, her prayers, the contents of her pantry, the smell of her kitchen, the song that escaped from her sometimes parched lips, her thoughtful repose, and pregnant laughter, all are worthy of art. And I think that a public library had a hand in crafting that great American playwright." And so, we come to our main speaker today, who is our own Amy Steele. She's Executive Director of Northland Public Library, and she's going to talk to you about Northland. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you very much for having me here this morning, and thank you, Lou, for teaching me a few more things about libraries that I didn't know. I'm here just to let you know about your library, our library, located here in the town of McCandless. And for those of you that don't realize, Northland is kind of unique. We are a public library, and we are a nonprofit institution, as many libraries are, but we are also a municipal authority. So we are actually a unit of local government, and that is because 5 different municipalities came together to form the Northland Public Library. So those 5 municipalities include Bradford Woods, Franklin Park, Marshall, McCandless, and Ross Townships. So they came together, formed an agreement, and said, this is important to our residents and our community, so we agree to come together and support a public library. As Lou mentioned, when Andrew Carnegie gave many of those grants, they were for the buildings. But in his quote that you read, he said that the duty to maintain the library rests with the community. So that's what our communities did to form Northland. And we serve those 5 communities in the 2020 census. That included 90,007 residents. So we serve the 2nd largest population in Allegheny County behind the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. And our territory stretches from the north side of Pittsburgh, so southern Ross Township, all the way up to the Butler County line. We serve over 60,000 square miles out of one central building. We do use bookmobiles, as was featured in the book that was read earlier. The Allegheny County Library Association, of which we are a member, provides the library, or the bookmobile, but we contract with them for service up in Marshall at the elementary school. So that is available to anybody. And that's on Friday afternoons at 3 o'clock. One of the things that we strive to do in public libraries is we're always kind of reinventing ourselves. We want to meet the needs of our communities, and so we're always checking to see what is needed. During the pandemic, we did a lot of that. We had curbside pickups. We focused on our electronic collections. We had grab-and-go craft kits. Our children's department was always very much in demand. The kids would come up and get a little craft kit each week to take home and do on their own, or they could do it in the library. And during the pandemic, our children's librarians never stopped fixing those craft kits, and they would literally use masking tape and tape them on the outside of the windows during the time the library was closed, and the kids would come running, Mommy, we have to go to the library before all the crafts are gone. And we would give out over 100 a week, so over 400 each month we were giving during that time. When we first reopened after the pandemic, we really saw the value of the library to our residents. The first week that we were open, we literally saw people coming in with their big wheeled suitcases to come in because they were afraid we were going to close down again, and they wanted to make sure they had enough books to get them through the next closure. And that just warmed our hearts. That showed us how much people still depend on libraries. There's often a lot of discussion, with the internet. You can find out what you need there. Why do you still need a library? We hear time and time again from our residents how important it is to be able to come to the library, to have that full range of materials available to them. We are focusing right now on access. Access is very important to us. We want to be a welcoming, accessible library to everyone. We have always made sure that our collections reflected that, so we would always have both sides represented in an issue, that people could come in and learn two sides of what's going on and understand another point of view. But we've also recognized that we needed to do a better job with some of the other access for everyone to feel welcome in our building. We've done a lot of training with our staff over the last few years on some diversity issues and equity and inclusion issues. We are rewriting a lot of our policies to make sure that they are as inclusive, not just in the policies themselves, but in the language that's used in those policies. We're very conscious of our physical accessibility. For those of you who are familiar with Northland, probably one of our least popular features is our spiral staircase, and we are working to replace that. We are getting ready to engage in a capital campaign that would replace the patio outside the lower entrance. There's some structural issues, and before it becomes a safety issue, we want to replace that. We want to replace our handicap ramp that leads up to that lower entrance, because right now it's a very long, narrow ramp, and we're going to widen that and put some switchbacks with a landing and a resting area in it. So we're very aware of those shortcomings that we have, and we're working to secure. We have some grant money. We're working to secure some more for that. And also with that project, the spiral staircase will be removed, and we will add a new not spiral, very squared off, full-size treads across all of the stairs. And so that we're looking forward to that. We're hoping if we do well with some of our fundraising and a few more grants come in, we'll be able to do that. Next year, that construction will start, so we'll ask for your patience during that construction time. But some of the things that we have done already to improve access, we have received a grant and purchased hearing loop technology for all of our public desks. I noticed on your bulletin that you have that technology available here, so anyone who's using a hearing aid that's equipped with that technology, you walk up to any of our public desks, including even in the little book nook that sells our used books. We have one in there. We can also take those devices into our programs so that we can make sure that everyone can hear what's going on. We have improved our internet access. We are now very proud to say that we have 10G internet connection throughout the building, including our Wi-Fi. Our Wi-Fi is also accessible from our parking lot. During the pandemic, a lot of people that suddenly had higher demands on their home Wi-Fi and internet between adults working from home and students, trying to connect remotely from home. They just didn't have enough bandwidth, so they would come to the library. And if we were open, they would come inside and use our connections. If not, they would sit in the parking lot. So if your internet ever goes out and you're in a bind, that access is available 24/7 from the parking lot. So we want to encourage you to take advantage of that. In recent years, we've added world language collections. I know one of the libraries in the inside-outside book was in Chinatown, and we also have books that are in Chinese. And we have a variety of languages, including Arabic and Swahili, and I can't keep up each week. They're adding more, but we have those at the children's reading level, and some of the children's books are actually in dual, both English and another world language, and that collection is expanding. We also have teen materials in other world languages and the adult collection as well. Let's see, what else? Oh, we also upgraded our signage to include Braille on our signage within the building. In the last couple of years, we've lowered some countertops to make them more accessible for those in wheelchairs. So we really are trying to, make an intentional effort to make the building and the collection accessible to everybody. And if there's anything, if you're ever in there and there's something we haven't noticed and you think it needs some attention, please let us know, because we really want to make sure it's your library as well, and we want to make sure that it is accessible to everybody. Our programming, we have a lot of fun with. I have an excellent staff, and they are always coming up with new creative programs, whether it's children writing ghost stories like we had a couple of weeks ago. They had a several session horror story writing class, and then that culminated in the week of Halloween outside in our learning garden with a fire pit and the flashlights, and the kids read their stories that they had written. And it was just wonderful. We got some amazing feedback from a parent who said that, her son is not into athletics, not all of us are, and that it's very difficult for them to find community programs that he's interested in participating in. And she said, please keep doing these writing programs, because it meant the world to him to feel that there were others that had shared the same interests that he had. And we've often gotten feedback from folks like that. We had a parent of a young teen who took one of our classes on creating anime and doing computer animation. He's now a senior, I'm told, in Rochester, and that's his major, and that's what he's going to embark on for the rest of his life. So you never know when these programs really make that kind of an impact. And we just keep trying new things. We like to see what you all are interested in. Our history programs are very popular as well. We do genealogy lock-ins for those who are doing their family history and researching that. Those always fill up very quickly because we make sure everyone has a computer, so it's limited space, but keep your eye out. We do those twice a year, spring and the fall. We've got a number of new book groups coming up. We've got a band book club that just got started. We've got a cookbook club that's coming up. We've got a true crime book club that will be starting, and then we have a book club that's a few months off from launching yet, but we're preparing. It's for special needs students, so it will be a book club that's specifically to meet their needs. We do computer classes. We don't do as many of those as we used to, because what we have found is people prefer some of that one-on-one help, so we do a lot of that. So there's plenty to come and partake at the library. Everything that I've talked about is on the website. Our collection is still the most popular, and we have a lot of non-traditional items that we circulate, from ukuleles to radon detectors to hotspots, so you get unlimited data connection for 3 weeks. So if you're traveling, come and check out a hotspot. And there's just so much more. You can check out power tools from the Millvale Library. So other libraries in the county, you can check out cake pans and tables with like 6-foot banquet tables. You just have to go pick them up. But there's no end to what we can do. So we're here to serve all of you and meet your needs.
Would you take some questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. If you have some questions, Amy would entertain them now. We have a microphone. Or if you're all satisfied, we'll have a hymn.
One over here.
Okay.
Is this on?
Yes.
Are there any plans to bring back a children's playroom, the one that was closed?
Not at this time. We're primarily trying to use the learning garden outdoors for some of those items. Part of the problem is that room is very small, and with the lingering health concerns, it's just not an appropriate space for that anymore. We have been slowly adding back some of the manipulative toys and things into the children's department as we see that people seem more comfortable with that.
Yeah, you see a lot of stories around the country about the culture wars affecting the lives of librarians, and I wondered if that's actually been an issue in this area.
Unfortunately, yes. We have received a number of challenges at Northland for materials. A lot of those challenges are scripted nationally, and so people will read things online and they come marching in and demand we remove certain displays and certain kinds of books, and we don't necessarily even have them. Sometimes we have those materials. Somebody came in demanding we remove the critical race theory books from the children's department. Well, critical race theory is an advanced topic. Those books are in the adult section. Do we have books on racial issues in the children's department? Absolutely. Family issues, blended families? Absolutely, and those will remain there. We have a collection development policy we follow for selecting and deselecting materials. We have a reconsideration policy that we follow if somebody has a concern about an item. But unfortunately, it has happened here. I know one library in Allegheny County that did receive death threats and had to close over some of those kinds of things. So it is here. It's unfortunate. It's very concerning for our staff as well. We work closely with local police to make sure we all stay safe.
May we say thank you to Amy? And then we'll have
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we have a closing hymn. Let me see if I can find my place here. The hymn is number 298 in the gray hymnal, and the words will be on the screen. Would you join me in saying our mission statement, which will be on the screens? By building a loving religious community that nourishes the spirit, celebrates life, and cherishes the connectedness of all things, we will transform ourselves and our world. Let me say before we give extinguish our chalice and say our words, we have some books here that are available for adoption. And if you would like to see those, maybe right before you go out or after you go out to committee meetings or the showcase of committees, you're welcome to have a look. And if you want to take one home, please do. If you take a bestseller that's there, I'd ask that you leave a small contribution. That money won't go to us, it'll go to the library. So, we come to our closing words, which are from Martha Munson, our Reverend Martha Munson, who served as an interim minister at UUCNH from 09 to 11. We extinguish this chalice here that it might grow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. Thank you.
that's the way I sort of.
Yeah, and then I'll do my internship there too as well.
You know,
So
I did not,
I'll be there for
history,
yeah,
you know,
for the
Lies,
whole
my
year,
teacher told me
and
it
then
all.
they
Things
do
like that.
sometimes like hire on
That's a
after
rough.
that, so we'll see. Yeah, so
I don't even.
yeah, and I
I
do
will.
like
I talked to her
like
this week.
just continuing education.
I made her
I
late
went to
for a
the
committee.
Pennsylvania Counseling Association.
I doubt she
and
can.
there's
Your
connections there
contribution to
already,
the,
and,
you know what?
Yeah, I love that. I just wanna. It's a great.
Oh, white wine, and isn't that a
for
great
me because of my
Boy, I love that guy.
That I share with Chris. We have our halftime, but then my kids
Thompson,
are
how are you?
older. I'm a senior, and then
Not that,
14-year-old. So it's a perfect time for me to like kind of get back and enter the workforce again. For yes, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's fun when nerds can be.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, maybe you were like when I was a kid, being a nerd wasn't.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. I'm a bigger participant now in just the things that I do.